Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Minash. On today's show, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite real estate development strategies. I call that strategy buy on the line, move the line. So what is that line? Well, that line exists in virtually every city in North America. On one side of the line, you've got a hot, gentrified neighborhood with coffee shops and art galleries and folks walking their dog, and then you go 2 blocks too far in the wrong direction and you're deep in the hood. That line exists in virtually every city. So the core of the strategy is to buy a few properties just on the wrong side of that line and redevelop them. You should be able to buy those properties at a substantial discount to the market because, after all, they're in the hood. And there are no comps for brand new product in the hood. So when you redevelop those properties, the only place you're going to see comparable examples for the purpose of sale or appraisal is from that hot, gentrified neighborhood next door. Now, you might not get 100 cents on the dollar against the appraised value of the hot neighborhood, but you'll probably get 95, 97 cents on the dollar. And because you bought that land at a substantial discount to the market, redeveloping those properties is an opportunity to create tremendous value. Now, if you just do one or two, it's not enough. It's not enough for the market to take notice, but if you put a little bit of scale behind it, the marketplace will take notice and say, oh, the line has moved. And guess what? The line is now on the other side of your property. So guess what? You can do it again and again and again. Now, when you employ this strategy, whether you're doing it or somebody else, often these lines get developed and moved. Over the course of time, a few properties get left behind, and the net result is a form of Swiss cheese. The question is whether the holes in the Swiss cheese represent an opportunity or not. And in my experience, filling the holes in Swiss cheese is more difficult than moving the line. And that may sound counterintuitive, but the reasoning is very simple. When you're surrounded by more expensive properties, those derelict properties take on the aura of being in a more expensive area. They're no longer in the hood. The land value goes up because those properties have been improved all around them. The reason the buy on the line, move the line strategy works so well is because when you're on the wrong side of the line, you're considered to be in a bad area, and bad areas are worth less. But you know that you're going to be improving the entire area, and in so doing, you're going to change the market perception of that location. If you only do 1 or 2 properties, it might not be enough to convince the market that the line has moved. But if you improve maybe 5 or 6 properties or an entire block, then the marketplace takes notice. The valuation you will get for the redeveloped property will be based on the hot neighborhood next door, and there are no comps for the new product in the hood. So if you can get the holes in the Swiss cheese at a deep enough discount, it might be worth considering. Or if you're going to create enough value, maybe through a land assembly, that the purchase price of the land truly doesn't matter that much, then for sure you can consider the fill the Swiss cheese approach. When the market was so hot that anything would sell regardless of condition, buyers were willing to do some heavy lifting to get a property, almost any property. But as the market softens, you will see the largest discounts being applied to those properties that are not moving in the market. Those properties will sit and sit and sit, and eventually the price will be reduced enough to be attractive to those who seek to completely redevelop the property. The buy on the line, move the line strategy is much more straightforward than filling in the Swiss cheese. The other reason that buying on the line strategy is more attractive is that you will likely have less competition for those properties. One of the key elements of the buy on the line, move the line strategy is to combine this with the notion of performing a land assembly. A single property in the inner city core might be enough to develop a single-family townhouse or maybe a duplex. That's not enough to create significant value, but if you can assemble 3, 4, 5, 10 of these together, now maybe you can put a large-scale apartment building, or maybe you can redevelop the entire block. Now you have something of substance that you can really create a multiplier of the value. And creating land assemblies in hot areas is much more difficult than it is to do in a depressed area. When you talk about performing value creation using land, there's 2 principal strategies. The first is to take raw land and carve it up into smaller pieces through the process of subdivision and zoning. You're probably familiar with that at the perimeter of almost every city in North America. That's how suburbia was created. The other approach is to take already developed land that's been carved up in pieces that are perhaps too small and assemble it back together. There are very few opportunities for large-scale land assembly in the core of the city. One of the principal opportunities is by purchasing shopping centers that have gone into decline and are now functionally obsolete. Those properties represent an extraordinary opportunity to buy an asset that's worth very little in its current use. But you can get some substantial acreage with good access to major arterial roads, tons of parking, good utilities infrastructure, all the things you would need to redevelop that asset into a different use. And that explains why you often see a derelict property surrounded by all kinds of very high-value properties sit for years, if not even decades. And the reason is that the seller often has an unrealistic view of the value of their property. Not only that, developers can make more money by using the buy on the line, move the line strategy. Now, I'm not saying don't go after filling in the holes in the Swiss cheese. You can definitely do that, but just be careful and not pay too much. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.